Have you ever watched someone methodically remove toxic people from their life with the precision of a master chess player? No drama, no confrontation, just a quiet, systematic elimination that leaves fake friends wondering what happened. Well, you've just witnessed an INTJ in action, and what you're seeing isn't coldness or antisocial behavior. It's one of the most sophisticated social strategies in human psychology. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of the INTJ personality type and uncovering exactly how they identify, evaluate, and silently eliminate fake friends from their inner circle with surgical precision. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to have an uncanny ability to spot inauthentic relationships from miles away, or why certain individuals can maintain incredibly high standards for their friendships without seeming to care about popularity or social approval, you're about to get some serious answers. This isn't your typical personality discussion. We're exploring the psychological mechanisms behind one of the most misunderstood social behaviors in the personality spectrum. INTJ make up roughly 2 to 4% of the population, making them one of the rarest personality types. But their rarity isn't what makes them fascinating. It's their approach to relationships that sets them apart from everyone else. While most people collect friends like trophies or maintain connections out of obligation, INTJ operate by an entirely different rulebook. They're running a silent elimination game that most people don't even realize is happening. Here's what makes this particularly intriguing. INTJ don't just randomly cut people off or make impulsive decisions about friendships. They have a systematic approach to evaluating relationships that's based on logic, long-term thinking, and an almost supernatural ability to see through social facades. They're constantly analyzing the people around them, not out of paranoia or judgment, but because they understand something that most personality types miss. Quality relationships require intentional curation. Let's start by understanding what drives this behavior. INTJ are natural strategists who apply the same systematic thinking they use in their professional lives to their personal relationships. They see friendships not as casual social connections, but as investments of their most valuable resource, time and mental energy. Every interaction is unconsciously evaluated through a filter that asks fundamental questions about authenticity, mutual respect, and long-term compatibility. The fake friend detection system that INTJ possess isn't magical. It's the result of highly developed pattern recognition combined with an intolerance for superficial connections. They notice inconsistencies between what people say and what they do. They pick up on subtle signs of manipulation, self-serving behavior, and emotional dishonesty that others might overlook or excuse. Most importantly, they trust their analytical instincts even when it means making unpopular decisions about who deserves access to their inner world. What makes INTJ particularly effective at this elimination game is their emotional detachment from social approval. While other personality types might maintain fake friendships to avoid conflict, feel included, or maintain their social status, INTJ genuinely don't care if removing toxic people makes them seem antisocial or difficult. They'd rather have 2 authentic friends than 20 superficial ones, and they're willing to endure periods of loneliness to maintain that standard. The silent aspect of their elimination process is equally important. INTJ rarely engage in dramatic confrontations or public friendship breakups. Instead, they implement what could be called a strategic fade. They gradually reduce contact, become less available, and slowly withdraw their investment in the relationship until it naturally dissolves. This isn't passive-aggressive behavior. It's a calculated decision to avoid unnecessary drama while protecting their own peace of mind. But here's where it gets really interesting. The elimination game isn't just about removing negative influences. It's about creating space for relationships that align with their values and long-term goals. INTJ understand that every fake friend they tolerate is taking up emotional bandwidth that could be invested in meaningful connections. They're not antisocial. They're highly selective social investors who refuse to settle for relationships that don't meet their standards. The criteria INTJ use to evaluate friendships goes far beyond surface-level compatibility. They're looking for intellectual stimulation, emotional authenticity, mutual respect, and shared values. They want friends who challenge them to grow, who can engage in deep, meaningful conversations, and who demonstrate consistent character over time. Fake friends fail these tests because they're focused on what they can get from the relationship rather than what they can contribute to mutual growth. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the INTJ elimination process is how they handle loyalty and forgiveness. People often assume that INTJ are unforgiving or hold grudges, but that's not accurate. They simply have a different relationship with trust than most personality types. When someone violates their trust or demonstrates fake behavior, INTJ don't get emotional about it. They update their assessment of that person and adjust their expectations accordingly. It's not personal. It's practical. The speed at which INTJ can identify fake friends often surprises other personality types. While it might take months or years for others to recognize toxic patterns in relationships, INTJ often spot red flags within the first few interactions. They notice when someone only reaches out when they need something, when conversations are consistently one-sided, or when someone's behavior changes dramatically depending on who else is around. These aren't necessarily deal breakers immediately, but they become data points in an ongoing evaluation process. What's particularly fascinating is how INTJ handle the discovery process when they realize someone they trusted was being fake. There's rarely an emotional explosion or dramatic confrontation. Instead, there's often a quiet moment of clarity followed by a systematic reevaluation of the entire relationship. They'll review past interactions through this new lens, identify patterns they might have previously overlooked, and make a calculated decision about whether the relationship is worth salvaging or should be eliminated. The elimination itself is where INTJ truly demonstrate their strategic thinking. They don't burn bridges unnecessarily or create enemies. Instead, they implement what could be described as a professional distance protocol. They remain polite and cordial, but stop investing emotional energy in the relationship. They become less available for casual interactions, stop sharing personal information, and gradually shift the dynamic from friendship to acquaintanceship. This process can be confusing for the fake friends on the receiving end, because there's often no clear moment when the friendship officially ends. Instead, they gradually realize that the INTJ has become less responsive, less engaged, and less willing to invest time in maintaining the connection. Some people interpret this as rudeness or social awkwardness, but it's actually a sophisticated conflict avoidance strategy that protects everyone involved from unnecessary drama. The long-term results of this elimination game are remarkable. INTJ who consistently apply these standards end up with small but incredibly high-quality social circles. Their friends tend to be loyal, authentic, intellectually stimulating people who share their values and can be trusted with their vulnerabilities. These relationships often last for decades because they're built on genuine compatibility rather than convenience or social obligation. Understanding the INTJ approach to fake friend elimination reveals something profound about the nature of authentic relationships. While society often promotes the idea that more friends equals better social health, INTJ demonstrate that quality trumps quantity every single time. They're willing to be misunderstood, labeled as antisocial, or spend time alone rather than compromise their standards for authentic connection. The psychological benefits of this approach extend far beyond just having better friendships. INTJ who successfully eliminate fake friends report higher levels of life satisfaction, less social anxiety, and more energy for pursuing their goals and interests. By removing the emotional drain of maintaining superficial relationships, they free up mental resources for the people and activities that truly matter to them. However, this elimination process isn't without its challenges and misconceptions. One of the biggest myths about INTJ is that they're naturally cold or heartless when it comes to ending friendships. The reality is far more complex. Many INTJ actually struggle with the decision to eliminate fake friends because they understand the finality of their choices. Once they've mentally categorized someone as inauthentic or toxic, it's incredibly difficult for that person to earn their way back into the inner circle. This internal conflict often goes unnoticed because INTJ rarely discuss their relationship evaluation process with others. They're not seeking validation for their decisions or looking for permission to set boundaries. They're simply working through their own systematic approach to maintaining psychological well-being through careful relationship management. The silence around this process can make them appear mysterious or even ruthless to outside observers. The timing of eliminations is another sophisticated aspect of the INTJ strategy. They rarely make impulsive decisions about friendships, even when someone has clearly demonstrated fake behavior. Instead, they often implement what could be called a probationary period, where they test the relationship under different circumstances. They might observe how that person behaves in group settings versus one-on-one interactions, or notice whether the person's behavior changes when they're stressed or facing challenges. During this evaluation phase, INTJ become incredibly skilled at creating subtle tests of character without the other person realizing they're being assessed. They might share something moderately personal to see if it gets gossiped about later. They might observe whether someone follows through on small commitments, or notice how that person treats service workers or people with less social status. These aren't manipulative games, but rather natural extensions of their analytical nature applied to relationship assessment. What's particularly interesting is how INTJ handle group dynamics when eliminating fake friends. They understand that removing someone from their personal circle doesn't necessarily mean creating drama within larger social groups. They become masters at maintaining cordial relationships in group settings while keeping clear personal boundaries. This skill allows them to navigate complex social situations without forcing others to choose sides or creating unnecessary conflict. The fake friend elimination game also reveals something fascinating about INTJ loyalty patterns. While they're quick to identify and remove inauthentic people, they're incredibly loyal to friends who pass their evaluation process. These relationships often become deeper and more meaningful over time because both parties understand the effort and intention required to maintain INTJ friendship. The friends who survive the elimination process often report feeling especially valued because they know they've earned a place in a highly curated social circle. INTJ also demonstrate remarkable consistency in their friendship standards across different life phases. Unlike some personality types who might lower their relationship standards during lonely periods or raise them during times of abundance, INTJ maintain relatively stable criteria for what constitutes an acceptable friendship. This consistency means that their social circles tend to evolve gradually rather than experiencing dramatic overhauls during major life transitions. The elimination process becomes even more sophisticated When INTJ encounter people who are partially fake or situationally inauthentic, rather than applying an all-or-nothing approach, they often create compartmentalized relationships where they maintain connection in specific contexts while avoiding deeper emotional investment. They might maintain a work friendship that doesn't extend to personal time, or keep social acquaintances for group activities while avoiding one-on-one interactions. This nuanced approach to relationship management requires considerable emotional intelligence and social awareness, skills that are often overlooked when people focus only on the INTJ's reputation for analytical thinking. They're not just categorizing people as good or bad friends. They're creating a complex social ecosystem where different relationships serve different purposes and operate within carefully defined boundaries. The impact of successful fake friend elimination extends into every area of an INTJ's life. With their social energy no longer drained by maintaining superficial or toxic relationships, they often experience increased creativity, better focus on their goals, and more authentic self-expression. They become more willing to be vulnerable with their remaining friends because they trust the quality of those relationships. This creates a positive feedback loop where authentic friendships become even stronger over time. Perhaps most importantly, the INTJ elimination game serves as a model for intentional relationship building that other personality types can learn from. While not everyone needs to be as systematic or ruthless in their approach, the core principle of prioritizing authentic connections over social quantity has universal applications. The INTJ demonstrates that it's possible to maintain high standards for relationships without being unreasonable or antisocial. The silent nature of their elimination process also offers valuable lessons about conflict resolution and boundary setting. By avoiding dramatic confrontations while still maintaining clear personal standards, INTJ show how it's possible to protect your own well-being without necessarily damaging others. Their approach prioritizes long-term peace over short-term social comfort, a strategy that often proves more effective than direct confrontation in maintaining personal psychological health. Understanding this process also helps explain why INTJ often seems so confident and self-contained in social situations. They're not performing for approval or trying to maintain relationships that drain their energy. Instead, they're operating from a foundation of carefully curated, authentic connections that support their goals and values. This social confidence isn't arrogance. It's the natural result of refusing to accept relationships that don't meet their standards for mutual respect and genuine connection. The elimination game reveals that INTJ aren't antisocial or difficult to befriend. They're simply operating with a different set of priorities and a longer-term perspective on what makes relationships worthwhile. For those who appreciate depth over breadth in their social connections, the INTJ approach offers a masterclass in relationship quality management that can transform how anyone thinks about building and maintaining their social circle. The most remarkable aspect of the INTJ elimination strategy, fake friends from their lives. There becomes apparent when you observe how they handle the aftermath of removing's no regret, no second guessing, and certainly no dramatic social media posts announcing their decision. Instead, there's a quiet satisfaction that comes from creating space for more meaningful connections. They understand something that most people struggle to accept. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, and that's perfectly okay. What sets INTJ apart during this process is their ability to separate the person from their behavior. They don't eliminate fake friends out of personal animosity or wounded pride. They simply recognize that certain behavioral patterns are incompatible with their values and long-term well-being. This emotional detachment allows them to make clear-headed decisions about relationships without getting caught up in the drama or guilt that often accompanies friendship endings. The ripple effects of their elimination process often surprise even the INTJ themselves. Friends who remain in their circle frequently comment on feeling more valued and appreciated after witnessing how selective the INTJ has become. There's an understanding that earning and maintaining INTJ friendship requires genuine effort and authenticity, which actually strengthens the bonds between true friends. The remaining relationships become more honest, more supportive, and more fulfilling for everyone involved. So there you have it. The INTJ silent elimination game isn't about being cold or antisocial. It's about understanding that your time and emotional energy are finite resources that deserve to be invested wisely. Whether you're an INTJ yourself or someone trying to understand this mysterious process, remember that quality will always triumph over quantity when it comes to authentic human connection. The beautiful thing is that once you witness this level of intentional relationship building, you'll never settle for fake friendships again. Like, share, and subscribe if you felt this. And drop a red heart in the comments to let the rest of us know you're watching.